tunaongelea hiyo kitu. Tunanyamaza tu, watu wakikula pesa, wakienda wakipewa budget, wakitumia pesa siku 2-3, hizo ndio pesa wanapeana huku kina Shalini wakikimbia nayo huku, wakisema wanasaidia vijana. The National Youth Council need to be transformed, ikuwe ya vijana. Uko 45 years na uko hapo unarana hapo, unafanya nini hapo? Goofy, I've seen you. Karibu.
Hey guys.
Go on.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
I've been trying to get onto this space for Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go on.
There's someone's mic that is on. I'm getting noise.
What about there?
Yeah, can you just like go off if you're the one who's putting on the music?
All right.
Yeah, perfect. Hi guys, my name is Goofy. I am a performing poet and filmmaker based in Nairobi, Kenya. Essentially, I'm an entertainer, and the thing that I need you guys to know is we have a history of forgetting real fast. But the good thing about art is art uses whoever is
Essentially,
there
I'm an
to
entertainer,
document the times,
and
to cement
the thing.
history and document anything that cannot be published. And through art, we have musicians, we have poets, we have filmmakers. And the one thing that I noticed about this revolution is it caught everyone off guard, especially the leaders. But us, as the people, we knew it was brewing, we knew it was coming, we just didn't expect it to be this soon. The thing that I want to say is we should not forget people have been shot, they're dead, some have been buried, some are still in jail, some have injuries, and the leaders are still as arrogant as they were, because the narrative that is being pushed right now is Ruto is listening to the people for him. But we should not forget, whatever is being said here is we should go get our votes. We should educate ourselves on these things because we have the power, and there's nothing that beats a citizen that is united. And we are united right now. The June 25th demonstrations really rattled everyone. It rattled the government real bad, and we should keep that pressure. With that said, I was requested to do a piece, a poem, spoken word, and this is called To Live Here. To live here is to live in fear. You don't know if this life is yours. You don't know if you own anything else that isn't your thoughts. Your mind might be the only place that feels like home, but only if you don't share your raging thoughts. Here, the loud ones, the smart ones, the nosy ones, they disappear here. The trees in Kikuyu and the bushes in the Mao know more about missing people than the ones who took them here. We wish trees could speak, but they too are being cut down here. Trees wish we could speak, but we too are being gunned down here. We forget names like Willie Kimani, Baby Pendo. Here, you can be shot whether you are a lawyer, a taxi driver, or unauza nyama pare gara. Here, if you are a young man aged 19 to 22 who likes wearing faded jeans that are torn on the knees and seemingly a good Odi dancer, you'll be shot here. Your death won't mean a thing to a police unit that's funded by your taxes here. Body bags have more work than the youths of this place here. The country eats its own people. 1 minute you're with them, the next you're dead and gone. A moment of silence for Evans Njoroge. To live here is to embody Koleka Putuma. Collective amnesia stays within us. Here, we forget to count after every 5 years. Here, leaders manipulate the votes and pass it out as the voice of the people. People with no voices, people with no choices, people with no health care, no security, or an average life standards. Here, the only cues we respect are the ones found along tribal lines. Here, we are one. Foolish people here. Thieves use their loot as manifestos to kickstart their careers here. Thieves appear in top 30, 40, and 50, and the top 30, 40, and 50 here. Golf gets more funding than the education kitty. To live here is to constantly think of death. Here, you have to look right, then left, then right, then left while crossing a one-way road. To live here is to constantly think of death. Here, you can get a brain surgery when you checked in with a cold. Here, cartels run a hospital. Here, criminals own a hospital. Here, rapists have a hospital. Here, you have to light a candle after the many deaths we invite into our lives here. We are experts in instant rage, but amateurs in following up here. We forget more what hurts us as a people and always remember the silly stuff here. We are comfortable with heavy taxation, a rogue police unit, suppression of free speech, unequipped hospitals, corrupt officials, a dormant constitution, selective human rights, a fast ending forest cover, privately owned killer dams, debts upon debts and debts upon debts. This is the life we live. And the people they've killed, I'm going to say their name: Rex Masai, Dr. Margaret, Evans Kiratu, Franco Koth, Nick Adams, Eric Njeru, David Chege, Ian Kerr, Belinda Acheng, Beasley Kamau, Edwin Otieno. Say their names: Erickson Mutisia, Eric Otieno, Credo Yaro. Say their name: Eric Sheni, Emmanuel Tata, Ibrahim Kamau, Kennedy Onyango. I've said your names, and these are the ones we know. We live as Kenyans fighting for your spirit, fighting for your life until we get a better Kenya. To live here is to live in fear, but we don't have to live in fear. We have the power. Tutafinya mpaka Zakayo ashuke. Thank you.
Right, right, right. Thank you very much. I really, really promote artists. I respect artists because we cannot have a mental revolution without artists talking to us and reminding us where we've come from. The reason why they are diverting the study of history, literature, anthropology, sociology, philosophy, civics, social ethics, psychology. The reason why these subjects, the establishment calls them useless subjects, is because these are the subjects that promote citizen awareness, they sensitize citizens, they awaken them, they unite them, because they call you to your spiritual consciousness. Without spiritual consciousness, we cannot achieve anything. The protestation that we've been experiencing the last 3 weeks is because we have joined together as a generation through a spirit of liberation. We want to liberate ourselves from the chains of tyranny. We want to liberate ourselves from the imperialism in parliament. We want to liberate ourselves from the mockery and the contempt coming from the mouths of politicians, careless, reckless, useless politicians, heartless, tearless, callous, stone-hearted, cold-hearted, no-hearted. They steal our resources every day. They steal our taxes. And when you ask them, they shoot you. They buy bullets, but they can't buy food. They buy tankers, but they can't buy water tanks. Our children are struggling. Our mothers are pained. Our fathers are hopeless. While these callous politicians sit in big hotels, and even they have hotels in the parliament so that they can eat after vomiting on us. Then they vomit again and vomit again. And when you ask them why they are vomiting, They diarrhea on you through reckless and callous statements. They don't care about you. They don't care about us. They care about nothing. They care about their wallets. When it is about them, they unite. They speak in one voice to pass that bill that raises their salary, to pass that bill that gives them access to public resources. But when it's about you and me, they don't sit in the chambers. We are only left with the judiciary chambers, where we go begging for justice. Yet we've been told in our national anthem that justice is our shield and defender. Why do they take it away from us? Why should we bend? Why should we beg? Why should we cry for justice? Why? Why should we beg for the president to listen to us? He's not deaf. And we are not ENT doctors. We are citizens. Listen to us. Don't kill us. You can beat us with a stick, but we shall stick together in a spirit of liberation. We want to liberate ourselves, and this is not about me and you. This is about the generation that is coming behind us. They will be asking us, Father, Mother, we gave you this future. What did you do with it? The future does not belong to me and you. The future belongs to those behind us. It is them that have given us this future so that we take care of it on their behalf. And when they are adults, they will ask us, you let us down. Daddy, Mommy, you let us down. You didn't fight for us. We don't have a future. We don't have a country. They will be looking at our country and say, here lies the ruins. Here lies a country that used to be called Kenya. Looted, dehydrated by the powers that be. If we don't build together in a spirit of liberation, going to the street in protestation, raising our voices, clenching our fist, and asking what belongs to us, the political class will continue eating, looting, and destroying our future as we look at them. It's time to mobilize our energy. Whatever you do, whatever thing you are, whoever you are, it is time to mobilize our energy. We need to drain the swamp, because the swamp cannot sustain our future anymore. The swamp is polluted by rats, snakes, and toads, crocodiles, parasites. We must drain the swamp. No matter how many days it takes, that swamp has to be drained.
Eric,
Next speaker.
interrupt you.
Yes.
So yeah, thank
Your mic is off.
Sorry to interrupt you, bro.
Go on, go on.
I totally agree with your views. I feel like art must certainly play a major role in any kind of movement, especially this kind of movement that we have here in Kenya right now, because it is a very unique kind of movement. I don't think in the history of protests and we've never seen this kind of movement before, because it is just very purely organic and stemming from all sections of the country. So it's not centered on anyone. So I would like, before I briefly proceed, to thank the previous speakers. I think the words that we've had here have struck a very deep chord within us all. I feel like those words were speaking to each and every one of us. who is part of this movement, because we are at a very critical stage. We have seen so many things happening in the last few weeks. We've had some very high moments in the movement. And when I say the movement, I call it the movement because when you call them protests, protests can be about a thing. Protests can be about something, you know. But this movement, it's bigger than the protests, because it's not even about the youth that have been on the streets. I feel like the message has transcended throughout every young Kenyan, no matter what part of the country you're in. It's a movement that is spread across counties. We saw people showing up and speaking out in all parts of the country. So it's not moved by tribe, it's not moved by social class. I don't want to get too much into that. So for now, I will agree. Art is going to play a major role in this movement. Like we saw today, the concert was a very nice example of how art can play a very major role in any kind of movement, because we have to bring out our creative side, because that is what they try to suppress first, because they have to suppress your creative side. They have to suppress the things that make you who you are. So, but the point is, we are at a very critical stage of the movement, because we've seen the state trying to instigate malls into the movement. We've seen many things happening. So right now, the truth, so much is going on. It might be a bit confusing for some of us. The information overload might be getting to us a bit, but you have to stay focused, because in every movement, there's always going to be pushback from whoever you're demanding accountability from. In this case, we're demanding accountability from the state, not for one thing. We are demanding accountability for many things. And so the situation has become so complicated that it's the view of the majority of Kenyans that, yes, we do have so many problems, and at this stage, the only way to fix it, the only solution right now is to start afresh. We need like a complete turnover of everything. So you cannot try to shift the ideas of the movement, or try to bring side shows into the movement. So we saw recently what happened. I'm going to try and get a bit straight into the point, because I know the majority of people on this space, they are social media users. We had Billy speak some moments earlier, very esteemed journalist, a man we all know him very well. But this movement cannot be pinned down into one thing or one leader or one other thing. But Billy made a very interesting point. He noted that some people are getting paid to go and cause chaos in this protest. I want to assure Billy that this movement started on social media. And I'm sure the people who are on this, tuned into this space right now, none of them would even have the time to get out there, unless if there are malls planted here to listen. That's a different case. But the people here, I'm sure the people here, they were part of this movement from the beginning. So there are people who are 100% true and true to the movement. So you made a good point. Yes, it's unfortunate that some people will accept petty cash from the state to push agendas, but the main point here is we have to stay focused. So we saw the state will always try to infiltrate any movement against them, as we've seen time immemorial in Kenya. If you follow this account, you've seen today a video we posted today about the anti-government movement in the 90s. So we saw people like Koigi Wamwere getting arrested on trumped-up charges. We saw the state clamping down really hard on any kind of dissent. So that will always happen. In this case, the movement started on social media. The movement was online. So definitely the main targets will be the main social media figures. So that's where it started. So we saw recently, some guys are saying, oh, some people in the movement have betrayed us. I will not mention names, but just to be clear, we have to stay focused. So this will always happen, and do not put too much, do not let your heart be demotivated. Do not put too much thought into these things. They will always happen. But the good thing with this movement is, no matter what comes at us, no matter how many diversions they try to create within us, it's decentralized. So we will always find a way to move forward. So
Thank you very much.
yeah, just to be clear. So guys, do
All right.
not that the main point of the movement is to stay focused, and we try to find a way forward, which we will eventually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So before Goofy, the poet, came, I was saying that I receive a lot of messages. I don't know if politicians also receive these messages. Very broken young men and women. For example, today I received, like, just in the last 30 minutes, I've received like 10. And it's very hard. Let me read some few so that you understand what I'm talking about. There are so many. I can't point out on which one I can just pin on. But there are issues of, for example, this one is Victor. He tells me, morning, bro. This was around 8. To be brutally honest, I am hungry. And if you can just help me some little cash, I get something for myself, I'll be thankful, Amerix. So because of the volume of messages, I didn't read. So he sent another one at around 4. Hello, Amerix. I see you are back. Please assist me, sir. I asked him what is his name and number. He gave him the name and the number. And of course, I'm going to see if I can, how much I can support him, and of course talk to him and see where he can be assisted. These are the symptoms of structural failure. The system has failed a generation. And if this is not fixed, we're going to have a time bomb. Those young men you saw in the streets, they are going to be a very, very dangerous bomb. The government has to take action. It has to listen to them. Iwasikize. Kwa nini nakataa kuwasikiza? Shida iko wapi? Wakisema cabinet ni mbaya, imebeba uchafu, fagia, where's the problem? Wakisema parliament ikuwe reconstituted, where's the problem? 70% ya hii population tuko nayo Kenya ya watu wa young people. Gen Z na millennials, I think they're around 55%, something like that. Gen Zs are 30 something, 34. The other ones in 21. So why can't these politicians listen to them? Walienda hapa juzi ndio wana Senate wakiongea wakipontificate, they disappeared. We don't see them. Saizi scandal imewapata. 24 of them walivote bill sijui ya nini, I don't know what it was, to allow state officials to do with business with government. I've not read it, so I don't want to comment so much on it. I was waiting for Nairobi Super Senator to be here, sijamuona. So niko na hizi messages mingi, na hii ni symptom ya shida tuko nazo kama country. Kuna mwingine ameniambia hapa, boma yao ilivunjwa huko Mavoko. Serikali ilivunja boma yao. Yuko wapi? Alafu kuna hii issue ya JSS. Hiyo ni kitu inaniuma sana as a Kenya. Because kama tuna promote CBC, na the crux of CBC, as in the core of CBC ni hiyo JSS. Kwa nini serikali isiweke tu pesa enough i-employ JSS wa kutosha? Unaenda primary school hapa unapata watoto 300 na walimu 3. Na hiyo shule hata ina resources. Laboratory wanaenda kwa neighboring school, high school. Basketball wanaenda kucheza kwa neighboring school. Wamandiki wapo swimming hawana, lazima waende kwa mtoni. Wanaenda kuruka kwa mtoni huko kwa village. Mwalimu anawafuata na kitabu. Ule anaruka sana anaandika. Ule anaruka vibaya anaangusha. Anaruka kwa mtoni. So ukiruka kwa mtoni au mwena nyoka, what will you say? Why are we doing this to our citizens? Watu wanalipa kodi, tunalipa kodi. Usipolipa kodi imelipwa juzi unakujiwa. People are doing business. Sasa inabidi ufute watu. When I started my clinic last year, I had 8 employees. Sasa niko na 4. Just 4. Hao wengine niliwaambia sana, mimi mtakaa hapa nitashinda kuwalipa. Mtasema mimi ni toxic employer. So nyinyi afadhali muende mjue tu hatuna kazi. Kuliko mkaenge hapa mna expect ni walipe tarehe 1 na mimi napata pesa tarehe 25. Hakuna vile nitawasaidia. Hata wanaona vile biashara ziko wanasema yenyewe it is true. Daktari Mbiti ako hapa. Ako na hospitali. Ameifunga. Na amepump hapo I think 18 million shillings. Ijamaliza hata 1 year. Ameifunga. Juu ameshindwa kulipa rent. So inabidi sasa hata huyo landlord amerealize, huyu za akitoka hapa nitapata nani? So imebidi aite Mbiti wakae chini wasikizane vile atalipa rent. Because environment ya biashara iko chini. Manufacturing sector imekufa. Agriculture. Mi wana watu hapa wakisema ati tourism ndio number 1, I don't know, tourist. Hatutaki tourists. Wanatusaidia na nini? Tumekuwa na tourists kuanzia miaka zote. Tumeua our tourist destination, tumegrab land, tumeharibu. Why can't we focus on something like agriculture? Kwa sababu agriculture kwa Waafrika hiyo ndio the basis ya economy. Ukiangalia economy za Africa zina grow because of agriculture. Lakini agriculture na tumewacha, tumepatia kina Bill Gates ndio wana run. Nimewaambia hapa 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Kenya ilikuwa the leading exporter of pyrethrum. Cotton industry ilikuwa sawa. Mimi nimesoma na miwa. My father was a farmer. As much as I tell people don't take sugar, but mimi nilisomea na miwa. Umeshindwa kulipa fees, mzazi anaenda Mosako, Mumias Outgrowers Sako. Anapeleka contract ya miwa, anasema niko na hii shamba eka 2 na hii miwa yangu itakatwa in 6 months. Tafadhali munipatie shilingi 15,000 nipeleke mtoto wangu shule, alafu mkikuja kukata miwa, saa ya kulipa mkate hiyo 15,000. So Mosako inakupatia pesa. Mtoto anaenda shule. Walio wengi wamesoma na miwa. Saizi hakuna. Kampuni ilianguka. Ukiangalia the microeconomy of Luyaland imeisha. Yeye tuko na politicians. Na ule mtu anaweza kufanya, tunaanza kumuita ni mwendazimu. Salasia. Salasia is trying. Anajaribu. Hizo madrama zake kando, lakini anajaribu. Because pia ni mtu amegrow na miwa. Saizi Nzoia Sugar hii ya Bungoma ndio ina collapse. Kulikuwa na tobacco industry huko sehemu za Busia huko, Malaba. Ilikufa. Sasa kama agriculture inakufa, tutabaki na nini? Tutaenda wapi? Coffee farming. Sasa ukienda Kiambu wanatoa coffee waneka apartments. So unajiuliza hii apartment concrete jungle itatufikisha wapi sisi? What is our future as a country? Zile vitu zenye nafaa tuongelee, zenye zinatuhusu as a country, atuongelei. Tunaongea kuexport sijui nini, tumetengeneza sijui 5,000 jobs kwa ICT wapi. Get zile basics. Unajua tukikosa zile basics, hata hizo za juu hatuwezi. Nani yako na mic aongee? Ogola. Natafuta lawyer Pikiponki Simoni. Willis, please nitumie your request. Nikupatie mic uongee hizo stories za legislation. Willis alikuwa anasema hivi that in the future tukwe na legislation yenye president is not part of parliament. yeye hayuko kwa any political party. Iko kama Singapore. President ni mtu independent, haiko kwa political party yoyote. Hiyo itatusaidia. And then the parliamentary elections ikwe kando. Tuseme parliamentary elections zinakuwa kando, after 3 years bunge anaenda 2 terms, 3 years, akimaliza anaenda. Sasa hizi tuko na bunge, watu ni madinosaur huko. Mtu amekaa bunge 20 years. Ni nini ataleta ya maana ama mpya yenye itabadilisha Kenya? Hakuna. Mtu amekaa bunge 20 years, 25. Wabunge waende 2-3 years, ukifanya kazi poa urudi 3 years uende nyumbani. Upatie mwingine pia opportunity ya kurepresent your constituency kwa bunge. Si wewe peke yako unaweza represent. And then president atoke kwa party, asikwe part of this party politics. Hizi party politics ndo zinafanya saizi Rigiji na president hawasikizani because of party politics. So tutoe president asikwe kwa any party. Na akitaka kuongelesha wabunge hawaiti State House, anaenda kwa bunge. Anasema kitu anataka kusema, alafu wabunge wana debate, wanakubaliana. Kama amesema kitu poa, wanakubali. Kama amesema kitu mbaya, wanakataa. That's how we build our country. Lakini saa hii party politics imeharibu country yetu. Ndio maana tuko na hizi coalition of parties. Unapata party iko na members watatu, iko kwa ruling party, kwa ruling coalition. Kuna party nyingine iko huko Northeastern inaitwa UDM. Hata mimi sijui. But unasikia iko kwa ruling coalition. Unajua hii party ni kitu gani? Imefanya nini? So kitu itaendelea, utapata kila sasa ward itakuwa na party. Hii ward iko na party yake, ile ward iko na party, na zote zinaingia ruling coalition. Hizo ndo zinaharibu demokrasia ya Kenya. Kama nimekupatia mic, ongea, we continue. I'm waiting for Willis atuongeleshe. Kama ametuleta, nilikuwa nimeona Jimmy Wanjigi pia anataka kuongea, atuombe mambo ya public debt. Atuambie tuko wapi as a country. Because yeye ni kama anajua hizi stories zote. Atuambie sisi tuko na deni this much, lakini yenye tunalipa ni hii. So hii balance hii ni watu wanakula tu, watu wanaweka kwa mfuko. Please, kama uko na mic, you can go on.
Kuna kitu umegusia Amerix about being in business. I've been in business since 2020, a fashion house. Recently, KRA came and they summoned me to their office, telling me that I've not registered for e-teams, that I've not complied in paying taxes, and they told me to go with statements, personal bank statement, the till statement, and the records, Now I'm asking myself, the government has not created a favorable environment to do business in this country. What they're interested in is to get more money from these Kenyans who work their back and asses out to make that extra coin. Any place that they can get money, ndo natilia mkazo sana. So when you get someone like that, and if it's the first time, you start looking for a tax expert, which means you have to pay someone to do that. Putting in mind that you've not even paid the rent for that month, or maybe there are 2 months that you've not paid. So I said, let me just go represent myself. I go explain myself. They slapped me with a fine of 200,000, So when they gave me that fine, I now started giving them evidence that sijalipa rent, sijalipa wafanyikazi. Na ukifika pale unakuuliza maswali, unafanyikazi wangapi, unawalipa pesa ngapi, rent unalipa pesa ngapi? So they calculate the amount of money that they think or they purport that you're making, And the environment is not favorable for business. So when I tabled evidence that I've not even paid rent for 2 months, they gave me a warning. And they gave me tax clearance, So how many Kenyans know their rights? And how many Kenyans have been put into debt paying those fines that are very unscrupulous, So ni serikali ambayo inajali yenyewe, you know. And what made the government speak in a good tone after being called criminals is when they saw that it's not conducive for them to do their own businesses. When they saw that now wananchi are going for them. When it was us, it was okay, we were criminals. When Kenyans started going for them, now sasa hapo ikabadilika, wakaona kwamba this is serious, let's now come down and talk to these people. Another institution that has failed us as a country is the church through faith diplomacy. You know, nikifikiria kitambo venye priests and pastors were being respected in the country, na sasa hivi iko tofauti sana yani. Church ilikuwa inaongea, kina Timothy Njoya wanaongea, wamepigwa marungu kwa sababu ya kufaitia ile demokrasi ambayo saa hizi tuko nao tuna enjoy. Lakini kanisa sasa inanunuliwa na bahasha, alafu wanahakisha kwamba wanaomba. I don't know if these are facts or just rumors kwamba kuna mapasta, because very prominent journalists have written the 100 pastors that pray every day for this country, every day praying for a country to be better. A country is not run by prayers. Even though prayer changes things, a country should be run through policies that are working, you know. If you look at manifestos of these politicians, they are very nice manifestos, but they're not being followed. They're not being implemented. Alafu unatuambia kwamba utatuombea inchi ikuwe vizuri. How? That's fucked up shit, you know. Like, these policies that are there, they need to be put into action, you know. They need to work on these policies. They need to make sure that they follow these manifestos. If they are followed to the latter, we're going to be in a good place. When you come to the sports industry, very incompetent minister. Showbiz kibao, left, right, and center. Fungua hii, fungua hii, fungua hii. Yet, ile joint hosting ambayo tumepewa ya kuhost AFCON, tunaweza ikosa kwa sababu hatuna viwanja. Inakuwaje tunakuwa host, tunaweza kupiga boli Zimbabwe, seriously. Such a country inakuwa na kiwanja, sisi kama Kenya hatuna kiwanja. You know, how? Yet kuna pesa inatoka FIFA, kuna pesa inatoka kwa taxes za Wakenya, na hakuna kitu kinafanyika. You know, and inakuwa tu blame game. I'm challenging sports journalists in this country today, tonight. Speak up, you know, speak up. Speak up and change the industry. Kwa sababu unasikiza mse wa bola anasema footballers have been turned into beggars. And it is so painful kwamba wanariadha wanaenda kule nje, they use their own effort, you know, wanatrain kivyao, then wakishinda ndo wanapokelewa na waziri hapa Kenya. Muziki hapa na pale ni na nini, alafu inaishia pale. Yet hakuna facilities. If majuzi walikuwa wanalia kwamba wafunguliwe Nyayo, they do their practice. Ilikuwa imefungwa under renovation. Yet kukiwa na crusade inafunguliwa haraka inafanywa. Why? These are questions that we need to be asking every day. Akija kiongozi katika stesheni, pigeni simu stesheni, ulizeni maswali. Akija kwa ground, ulizeni maswali. Why is this place not working? If you press and press and press, something will happen. Because right about now, something is happening. Because if a president can come to a space and listen to us, that should count for something. And let's continue pushing until that time that things will work in this country. Otherwise, if we keep quiet, if we keep mum, watazidi kutukalia, watutapikie, maka unajua kwamba watatununua tena ikifika mwaka 2027. So tufinye kabisa mpaka wakati ambapo taona kwamba industry na sekta zote zinafanya kazi. And don't say that your voice is small. You don't have to be a big wig on Twitter. You don't have to be someone who's known. Pale katika village yako, yule mbunge wako, yule MCA, yule governor, if they're not doing something right, speak up. Right now, we are heading in the right direction, and tukinyamazishwa hatatoboa. What happened during the last demos is what has been happening throughout independence. Kwa sababu unapata kwamba tumeamua kwamba tunampeleka Amerix aende atuongoze kama constituency ya Nyaribari Chache. lakini kwa sababu kuna mtu pale anaitwa Mbaruk ana pesa na labda ana wahuni fulani, the voices of those people that want change zinakandamizwa, alafu wale goons wanafanya wale wapiga kura wakae nyumbani wasikuje kupiga kura, alafu yule mbaya anapita. It was evident juzi wakati Gen Z wametoka, goons wamekuja. Nani aliwaleta? We saw today wametoka concert pale Uhuru Park, wametembea Moi Avenue, wanaimba, wanaenda zao nyumbani. Hawana hooliganism yoyote, you know. So it is so painful to be a Kenyan at this time. It is so painful to talk about it, but we are heading the right direction. Thank you so much Amerix for this space. Naona sitaongea tena baada hapa nipokonye mic ili wakati wengine pia waongee, tusikie hizi ideas zikuje, then tujue how can we restructure, how can we regroup and tushinikize hii serikali itusikie, kwa sababu we are the people with the power. Without us they are nothing. So mbona sasa watu hata wameshindwa kusafiri, mikutano imekuwa postponed, it means the power is with us, you know, and tukifinya watakubali na wataanguka nayo. Thank you so much.
All right. Asante sana. I'm trying to add people here so that they can speak. Yes, Fatso, you can be a co-host. I've added Ombachi. I have added Kenya's #1 hater, Kaido. Accept and then come and talk to us. I see we have. Right. Thank you very much. Yes, Billy. Billy, I've given you a mic. You can talk. Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you have a mic, you can go on. If you requested to speak, you know, the requests are many, I think 100 and something. So if you requested to speak and confirm if I've approved and start talking so we don't waste time. Gaido?
Amerix, they look like they're listeners from my side.
They look like the what?
The listeners, they're still listeners. Why don't you listeners? Hawajakuwa speaker kama Gaizo. Hata Umbachi.
Unaweza ninyang'anya speaker so that at least wakuwe na space ya kupata mic. So you can drop me from the speakers list.
All right, let me do that. I've done that. I've removed you from the speaker. Remove. Billy, are you still there as the speaker?
Yeah, I'm still seeing myself as a speaker.
Okay. Just a minute as I invite, I remove these ones. Are you still a speaker? All right, Francis Gaido, I've sent right, Ochieno, Willis. I think it's now sorted.
Testing 1 2. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
Amerix, nice. Thanks for inviting me. Sorry, I'm late. Yeah, and I would want to carry on with your point about the collapsing industry. You were talking about the sugar belt. You were talking about all the companies and all the outgrower farms which were supporting small holder, farmers and whatnot. And being from Thika, I have the same kind of experience. So Thika was an industrial town. It used to be called the Birmingham of Kenya. So there were all these companies, especially in the textile industry. There was KTM, there was what, and so because of the structural adjustment programs, they came with some malicious or notorious or mischievous attachments or riders that you must liberalize, you must open your market for cheap imports, and that's how the Mutumba sector grew. And so we are here glorifying the Gikomba industry and whatnot. We are glorifying them because of importing second-hand clothes. But essentially, the only reason why new clothes or brand new clothes are expensive in Kenya is because of taxes, is because of the environment which has made it unconducive to produce. So it goes the entire chain. They dropped all the subsidies, all the incentives they used to give to farmers who used to grow cotton or who used to rear sheep for wool. And so they made domestic production expensive. And then we opened ourselves for cheap imports. A lot of companies now shut down because they could no longer sustain, no longer, not just on the production. So I've seen Thika move from being, that semi-urban, plush town into being just another, shithole town. Because of that, because of the parliament, our problem begins and ends with parliaments when they talk about these structural adjustment programs. You look at when the World Bank and IMF started implementing that, they then created this committee. It was called a privatization committee. And then there was the Ndegwa family. You guys think so highly about the Ndegwa family because they own NIC and NCBA. But if you look, their father, who was once a central bank governor called Philip Ndegwa, was the chairman of that privatization commission or committee that was formed in conjunction with the World Bank and the IMF, so that we can be part of these structural adjustment programs, conditionalities for us to access loans so as to bridge the deficit that has been created by bad governance. So Philip Ndegwa becomes the chairman of the privatization commission. What does he first do? Anajichotea pesa zake. He first grabs a few companies. There was Nairobi Airport Services called NAS. There were many other companies which were grabbed during that period. But then you'll realize that the World Bank is hiding behind some of these government officials, and then they make it as if that, we are selling these parastatals to clear our debt. But no, it is them who are grabbing. So during that period is when we saw the privatization of companies like Kenya Power. If you look at Kenya Power, since it was privatized, has our power bills, have they been cheaper or more? So the privatization was just a hoodwink. It was just a scam crafted for a few elites like Mamangina to grab our state-owned corporations. Look at Safaricom. During the same period, we had the Kenya Post and Telecommunications Corporation. Then, because of some mambo jumbo and magic over here, we were told it must be privatized. And so Safaricom Safaricom was a department under the Kenya Post and Telecommunications Corporation. You understand? And that's where we have these clowns like Gideon Moi owning Mobitelea, 5% of Safaricom, given for free under the guise that Vodafone is the one which is buying it. But Vodafone was giving 5% to Gideon Moi as a bribe because of acquiring Safaricom, which was a department of Kenya Post and Telecommunications Corporation. Look at something like Kenya Airways. We were told and we were fashioned. I remember I was reading the newspapers, I was very young, and they told us that privatization is a quick fix panacea, that because we are going to privatize, things are going to be better. Now, because the old generation of useless bastards, the boomers, if you are a boomer over here and you're there, you're a useless bastard, they bought into the idea of privatization. They bought into the idea of, let's get the golden handshake, and being stupid as they are, and even today they are still very stupid, they signed themselves up for a suicide. And so Kenya Airways, which was a fully state-owned corporation, has changed hands. It was sold first to KLM, and then there was this partnership between KLM. And then what they did is now, when they got to now the worst part, which was during the Uhuru era, they started selling our primest landing spots. For instance, Kenya Airways used to land in London at 6:10 a.m. There was a flight leaving Nairobi to London at 6:10. They sold that. They sold that to some, I don't know whether it's Bahrain or one of those companies or one of those countries. They sold that slot to bridge the deficit about debt that we don't know how it was incurred. We don't know how Kenya Airways got broke. We don't know how Kenya Airways got into debt, but somehow we have, because that is, your landing slot is almost like a sovereign parcel of land. You sell it, you concede it to another country to bridge problems that you yourselves have created. And so when we are talking about auditing debt, Jimmy Wajegi is talking about odious debt. If we are talking about it, we are not just limiting ourselves to the debt. We are looking at the atrocities committed at the turn of the 80s to the 90s, where now that character, that clown called Philip Ndegwa, who was a central bank governor, who you guys are shamelessly praising today because they are rich, because you guys, your self-esteem has been suppressed. You are praising that clown, saying that they are rich, but they themselves stole, their wealth is accrued. I used to read articles that Philip Ndegwa is rich. He was the first Kenyan to bank 1 billion. How are you banking 1 fucking billion? You have no manufacturing company. You're not a farmer of repute. You're not an innovator or inventor. And then you bank 1 billion. Where did you get that fucking money? These are questions when, anytime we confront the ruling elite, we tell them, hey, can you tell us how you acquired this money? Because there was a time they used to flaunt their money. They used to flaunt these stories. Oh, I used to read those silly, nonsensical stories by somebody like Jenga Karume. Jenga Karume says, I used to sell charcoal. Who the fuck would believe that charcoal would make you a billionaire? Those are not, unless you're exporting that charcoal to Mars or to Jupiter as an alternative energy source. But we've been fed with lies. We've been fed with cock and bull stories pushed by the mainstream media, shameless journalists, shameless editors who have you just run with any rubbish. You don't want to question how this person acquired this wealth. They were in government. They used to do X, Y, and Z, and somehow they landed into a lot of money. And because there were no checks and balances, suddenly they are billionaires and they are being praised. They are being worshipped by the church. We have the corrupt clergy. I see people are calling them kilaji. But this is the historical injustices that we have, especially from the economic front. It has to be all the companies that were grabbed by people hiding behind the narrative of privatization. The people who hid behind the narrative of a golden handshake. People were told, hey, you take a golden handshake, you'll go home. And by the time those guys were taking a golden handshake and leaving state-owned corporations, which were permanent and pensionable, they went to the villages and went to rot there, to die. So this is, now we get to the sugar belt. Amerix was talking about it. He has grown up from there. His family has, I'm from the coffee sector. The coffee sector has supported me. Somehow, it collapsed. And you are talking right now, you go to Kiambu Road right now, all the coffee is being chopped down, is being turned to real estate. Why? Because of structural deficiencies created by these fucking members of parliament, the guys we are entertaining, the guys you guys think are gods or something. They go and pass laws which are passed or which are crafted or which are conjured somewhere, and then they come and now start cooking narratives and telling you what. I was telling you about sugar. There was this clown called Evans Kidero. Evans Kidero, by the time he became the Mumias Sugar CEO, he is from the sugar belt, but the interests of the farmers were the last thing on his mind. He wanted. By the time he got there, he went to maneuver his way into getting import licenses so that they induce closures of the main sugar production, Sony, Mumias, and whatever, so that when they are shut down, they've been shut down under the guise of, oh, we have maintenance and whatnot. I think you used to see those whatever. Then they would import. Now, those sugar import licenses used to be approved by parliament, by idiots like who? Like Boni Kalawale. Like these other idiot, what's his name? This Waluke. Those guys who pretend that they are members or they hail from the Western region were part and parcel of the destruction of the sugar industry. And I don't understand how you guys still worship them. How do you allow an idiot like Boni Kalawale to address you in a funeral or in a whatever? How? Because he has been part of the destruction of the sugar sector. The sugar sector in the coffee sector in Mount Kenya has been destroyed by none other than fucking MPs from Mount Kenya region. So our problem begins and ends in parliament, but parliament has been an extension of the executive. And so what you needed to do, you just needed to go to treasury. You meet the bureaucratic pieces of shit in the treasury. You tell them, oh, this is how much you're getting. Can you sneak this amendment into the finance bill? And so finance bills every year, and what you used to call the budgets, became an overhaul of our entire economic structure. So they used to go and, coincidentally, believe it or not, I used to be close with the PS of Treasury many years ago called Joseph Kenyua. And one day I met him at his house and I told him, can we do a proposal for football? So we wanted, because my background is football, and we wanted to launch our sporting renaissance on the model of Britain, so that the government kind of like co-guarants the building of infrastructure. And I gave him the proposal, and then he organized a meeting for me at Treasury, and I met the budget committee. And I remember going, and I was very young, it was around 2008. And I remember going there, I was just finding guys, it was like Muhindis and it was just foreigners who were there, who went to give their budget committee. But I went, I spoke to them, and instead of doing my project the way I had presented it, because it would have created a lot of jobs for the young people and we wouldn't be having the problem today, what did they do? They passed a law using my proposal where every constituency got 1 million shillings for football. I'm seeing some MPs who are in office at the time, they will tell you they got 1 million shillings for every constituency for football. Just know that was my proposal that was implemented inversely, because we are dealing with a bunch of stupid idiots in parliament, bureaucratic pieces of shit. And when we are saying that we want to get rid of and we want to overhaul our economic structure, we have to start with Treasury, we have to start with Central Bank, we have to start with the Ministry of Energy and other places where World Bank and IMF have seconded their stooges, their surrogates, to implement policies that are going to fuck us up. That's where we are going to start. So I'm bitter because I can see our Kenyans. I saw Boni Kalawale with some young people, and he's the one who has been there with Akina Kidero and Akina Waluke. They were destroying the sugar subsector. And so we are dependent on importation. Like now there was this Galana Kulalu, which has consumed a lot of money. They have only harvested, I don't know, only 100 bags since 2009. Where has that money been going to? These are glaring corruption undertakings by the people who you then now come to worship in church. They come and donate money. They come with words of